Go ahead. What happened today? What was your day like? Hey guys, this
Well,
is Louie Summerfield, and I'm with Kriston. We're just kicking things off. We're doing a podcast, but we're not started recording yet. Technically, this is the off hours banter, and we're about to record a podcast about mental health, setbacks, depression, mental disorders, and suicidal thoughts. For anyone just joining us, I'm Louie Summerfield, an accountant and signed artist, business owner, and this is Kriston. Let her introduce herself.
well, hello there, Louie.
Hey,
How's it
hey,
going?
I'm doing great. How's your day been? What'd you do today?
Good. I mean, it was a typical day, like Zooms with people,
Meetings?
talk with, my business partner. This
Mhm.
agency that we're planning on starting up is in the works. So that was,
Okay.
yeah,
Can you
talks
tell me
about
about the
that.
agency, or is that still classified documentation for now?
What's that?
The agency you're talking about starting up with a friend, is that
Yeah.
classified, or can you talk about that a little bit? Can you expand on that?
Yeah, it's well, someone who's already established has, an agency already going and we'll partner up with
You're
them.
talking marketing. Joy is a marketing expert, so we're talking about a marketing agency.
Yeah, like he's got I won't say what his is yet because it's kind of, we haven't
People
shown that
recognize
yet,
it,
but
maybe, has a name or what?
we'll be on the front end as the copywriter, copywriters. So
Awesome.
yeah, it's not something I planned, but this is the way it's going, and I think it's going to be really good.
Okay.
And
Good.
what else did I do? I did some writing, doing some emails
What
for
kind of writing?
clients.
You're a copywriter, aren't you?
I am.
Aren't you a little
I get to
copywriting
play with
stuff?
words all day.
So you're a linguist and an orator and a market. In my eyes, you're really a marketing guru. You're a person who knows all about how to take any message, whether it be as a copywriter or you're getting paid to do advertisement, and get it to a market and get people to understand knowledge. And in that way, you really are a big time, what they call these days, an influencer and a culture creator, and really a person who's like, striving with the times, standing on tech. And that's really cool. So I'm glad to have you on my podcast, guys. My name is Louie Summerfield. I'm a signed artist. That's right. I got a record deal. I'm a rapper, but we're here today to talk about most unaccounted. We're not here to talk about me or that, or to even Joy's beautiful self. We're here to talk about depression, suicidal tendencies and suicidal thoughts, mental health disorders, even addiction if we get there. But really, we're talking about things that hold you back in general, that and ways and tools we can hopefully give you to combat through those things, because I am one who has been suicidal more than once, who's attempted suicide, and I know how it feels. And I just want to let people know there are a lot of resources and help and friends available to them, including us. So I'll put my number up on screen when I edit for this part. Call me anytime, 3 a.m. I'd rather get the call at 3 a.m. from even an acquaintance or someone I don't even like, saying I'm feeling like killing myself, and get the call in the morning, that I lost another one, because I've lost so many friends to suicide, drug addiction, booze, and bullshit. So that's me.
So Louie, I want to ask you here. So, you know, I've interviewed a lot of people about this topic. And
Yeah.
so I really, there's a lot of things are similar that they say.
Right.
But I'm curious because you've like lived it yourself.
Right.
So what was your experience on, how you were feeling, and maybe like if you can shed some light on what
Yeah. So I think
maybe
the
what you
overwhelming
want people to
sentiment
know.
that the thing we've heard the most from so many people lately, right, is exactly how I'll put it, that it's not that you necessarily hate life or you want to die or you're anti-life or you're even nihilistic. A lot of these people are religious or believers or whatever or not, but what it is you have so much mental pain at a time or another, so much frustration, so much hopelessness, so much lack, so much pain in some way or another, mentally or sometimes physically or sometimes both, that you just don't see an end that is better than just in other words, you want the pain to be gone so bad, you'd rather be dead than deal with the pain. And that's where sometimes it starts. And from that point, you can go to a really dark place, as I know. And you can have, even in my belief, spiritual things happen, and demons and devils try to talk you off on the ledge and try to get you to kill yourself, especially if you're a believer, especially if you're on this planet with a God-given, God-driven purpose. There is a big-ass target on your back, and the enemy wants to kill you and take you out. And even those of you that aren't and that are in the world, the enemy kind of will let you do what you want, but there could be a target on your back anytime you become a believer. So just know there is a spiritual war going on, and that's a part of it. Part of it is spiritual, because what it is if you're convinced you have no hope, you're gonna do something terrible to yourself, possibly like my friend Will just killed himself a few months ago because he was having a custody battle not go his way, and he was really struggling, and he just got down and said fuck it, and just shot himself in the head. And that's probably the 50th friend I've lost in my life, and it's really sad. But that's why I want people to know we are here. 719-725-3983. I would rather take your call. You don't have to call Christ line, but you can. That's 1-999-999-9999. Or you can call me 719-725-3983. I'll hear you out day or night. I won't shut up and listen. Speaking of which, Joy, what do you got going on today?
Well,
what do you think about somebody being so hopeless and so much pain that they would rather die than face it? What do you think it's like to work through that?
That's like where my heart goes out to these people, because that's like been like the similar thing that everyone has really said, is
Right.
that they felt like there was no hope. When you lose hope, that's really all we kind of have.
That's the last straw. That's the thing that faith and hope
there's
are
no
tied
hope
together. And what keeps your faith and your hope, it keeps you going, right? It's your strength.
Yeah. So then I think a lot of it too is not feeling like they have anybody to turn to, because I mean, even if they have a family that they can reach out to, they're feeling in some way that they're not going to be understood by them.
Right.
And that and they also feel like
open up to that way.
Yeah. There's a story I could tell you about my town. 7 men killed themselves all within weeks. They were all friends with each other, and they were all middle-aged, very successful families. Thought everyone, there was the life of the party.
Yeah.
There was no one had a clue.
Men with full lives, right?
Yeah. And
families, careers, money, everything you think you could ask for in life.
And you hear that a lot, but they did
when the devil gets in your head, baby. My God.
No, exactly, right? And you wish you could get in there and find out. But they did all have one thing in common, is that they kind of had that, and as men, they have it harder in this way for dealing with emotions and being able to express themselves.
Right.
Because they didn't do that with each other. They never ever
felt they didn't know who to do it to. Maybe their wives, for men, so often it can be hard for multiple reasons for men to open up, especially the women in our lives. And if that's all we've got, we might not open up at all. And here's 2 reasons why. For one, we want to and need to, and are societally and evolutionarily and by God made to be the protector for women, to be stronger than the woman and remove, they say, just by a notch, just to protect and stand in front of the woman, make sure the woman stays safe so she can be the more important life form, smarter and better one, which brings life. But we're just supposed to be a little bit stronger to protect her and maybe see ahead and help her achieve the brilliant goddessness that she is. And so because we feel this pressure to be the strong one, we sometimes don't want to admit where we have weaknesses, right? But there is a time and a place to admit, look, bro, I go to work and I go through the motions, but I just want to blow my fucking brains out every Tuesday or every time I have a birthday and it comes around again. That's what it used to be for me. It used to be birthdays. When I turned 30, I look back at my life and all the taxes I had done and all the songs I had done and all the jobs I had worked and all the times I had been screwed over or lost a fortune or lost a child in the womb or something else happened. And I felt like I'm 30, I'm living in a motel. This was about a year ago. And I said, I'm 30, I'm living in a motel in Craig, Colorado. I'm working for a tax firm that was just about to screw me over, as they're trying to do now, an old business partner. And I just hated life so much. You know what I did? I wanted to die. But more than that, I wanted to fight with God, because I knew dying wouldn't fix it. I knew my life was going to be, had been hard, and I knew God had a part to play in it. So I shook my fist at heaven and I started screaming and cussing all in for the first time in my life. Just turned 30 years old. For the first time in my life as a believer, pretty much all my life, I'm cursing at God. Finally, I'll tell you what happened, Joe. I don't tell this often, but this is my testimony. I felt a piercing Holy Spirit come into my body and possess me and fill me up with, all I can explain it as is a love that is so overwhelmingly powerful and strong and insanely potent to the umpteenth degree that it's just a million times length of potency, that I was just crying for hours and laughing at how much I love God and how much he loves us. All I could feel was him breaking me with this Holy Spirit saying, I love you. I would die for you. I did die for you. I would die for you 10,000 more times. And you, not only you, but every other idiot on the face of this planet. I love you all to death and back and still love you past that. And I could feel this physically in me and making me break down and cry for hours, till finally I laughed and said, God, if we don't turn this party off, that you proved to me you're real and all this, we're never going to get anything done today. And I laughed. And then at that very moment, God just had me sit down and just started talking to me. I swear to God, he ministered to me in the spirit. And this is what he said. Louis, when you were 14, 15, you were on your way to being a rap boy, and you wanted to be a big rap boy. And I told you needed to take care of your mother, who was sick at the time with some problems, that you needed to get a job and take care of your family because your parents were divorced and all your siblings had moved to the city, and it was just you taking care of mom left over. So I said, okay. And he said, because you did that 15 years ago and worked all those jobs and built your business finally and sold your business, did this and did that, now you can have what you want. I'm going to arrange things in the nighttime for you, son, so that all those years you spent sacrificing what you want to do, which would be a rapper, now you can have it. Next thing you know, I got a record deal. I'm doing a movie in New York City. All this stuff is crazy. Had I taken myself out, then when I turned 30, or even when I turned 31 this year, right before that all happened, and I was thinking how horrible life is, had I taken my life, I wouldn't have got to see that I'm getting casted in a movie. You know what I mean? I'd be that for you, but there's something, if somebody loves you, somebody you need to meet, somebody thing you need to do, if you're still breathing and you have a heart beating, no matter what pain you're going through, there's a purpose and a God who loves you and a purpose that you have for your life you may or may not have discovered yet, that is going to be major if you can just hold on. You know, Judas killed himself right after betraying Jesus. Paul also betrayed Jesus, but he didn't kill himself. He felt his shame, but he didn't kill himself. And so did some of the other disciples. And then when Jesus came back after the Sermon on the Mount, after being crucified, according to biblical theology, when Jesus came back, all those guys got to meet up with him and reconcile and be friends again. And they're all cool and they saw him in all his glory, but not Judas, because he took himself out. And that's what we don't want you guys to do and you gals to do. And we know it's really more prevalent in America amongst men. Higher men. Let's pull up some statistics. I don't want to take a lot of dark corners, but I do want you guys to know this is so serious. Suicide, and it's serious. And children in my town, there have been children that have killed themselves. There have been, there's suicide.
That a story about that is like children that, because they'll take pictures and then they'll have, somebody will bait them online pretending they're young, and then they're actually, it's for extortion, and they're saying they're going to tell their parents, and then you hear these stories that the child will, right? It's horrifying, because they feel like it's just so overwhelming for them. Like they have nobody to talk to about it, that nobody will forgive them for this. And that's what they're thinking. It's horrifying.
Suicide is the 12th leading cause of death in the U.S. I think the first one is like medical malpractice, heart rate, and probably gun violence. 45,179 Americans died by suicide. That's fine, but I can guarantee you there's more, like in America, 150 million men and women have probably thought about it. And that's why we want to talk about it. And next, we want to show you some tools that we can use as people to work through some of these things. So for people, what can it be, Joy? For me, I would take that channel and that pain, and I would make a song about how painful it is. But for other people, what is it? People like driving, taking walks, taking hiking, going hot tubbing, maybe. Where can they get in touch with some people that'll talk to them? Maybe their church, a local church, even if they're a believer or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even if they don't have anybody, they have resources they can reach out. But the problem is one thing I want to really clarify is that with people who are suicidal, you always hear these people that are reaching out and crying out for help, and they're warning you that they're thinking about it. Most of the time when they actually do it, they do not tell you that they're going to do it. And so that's the thing. And people were,
take this time to ask everybody, please share this podcast with your friends, share this video with your friends, share it as big as you can on Facebook, on social media, on Instagram, on YouTube, share it and send it to as many people as you can, because I want this to reach all the ears, and we're going to be going over tools. Okay, so next would be some tools, ways you can work through things. One way I've found that is helpful is a lot of times one of the mental distortions we have that can help us feel negative and unhappy is called cognitive distortions. One cognitive distortion, an example of such a cognitive distortion, is called black and white thinking. Black and white thinking dictates that there is only this or that option. There is not a third or fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh. It's just everything's all good, everything's all bad. So I find myself deciding in those moments, okay, if I'm feeling bad and it feels so bad that everything in my life feels bad to the point that I never feel like I'm going to feel good again, or that I'll just feel a little bit good, what can I look at differently? Because I have one person who's been through a lot of things, yes, but I've also been blessed after that to the point beyond recognition. So all I need to do is recognize I have a place to live. If I didn't, I would have another one. I have work. I have family, friends sometimes. And even when I don't, I've got to look in the mirror and say, I want to fight this thing because I need to be alive for the next generation, for the children, and to guide them. Because our generation now, we're 31, 36, 38. How old are we? I'm older than you, but I think you're about in your late 20s, mid 20s. We are
Yeah,
taking over the
thanks,
world
Louie.
stage
Yeah.
now. We're taking over in every industry. We're going to be leading the world soon. We're going to be the CEOs. And we're going to need to get these young bucks across. So that's what it is for me. For me, I look in the mirror and I say, I want to live because I know these kids are out here and they're going to need help. Because if they go through half the shit I went through, and some of them may, then, I want them to have somebody that I didn't have to help me. One person helped
Yeah.
me a lot. When I used to struggle really bad, I got in a bad relationship in 2020 during the pandemic. And I got with a really horrible woman who was physically abusive and a heroin addict. And I won't lie, she got me on the smoking heroin back then in 2020 for about 6 months. And then in April of 2020, I found another friend who was a doctor. I dumped that girl. She tried to kill me like 10 times, chasing me down with thugs and stuff because she wouldn't let go. And she stole my car. God dang it, the Subaru was so sick. Anyway, I got away from her and beat her off with a stick, I guess. And I got on Suboxone and I've been clean now 2 years, no heroin, no hard drugs, no pills, nothing, just smoke a little weed. And for me, again, another way to look at it, besides just positive, you can't see the positive. Look at times in your life, if you're 25, if you're 20, or if you're 30, where you had something worse. Like I can say right now, I'm 30. Somebody punched me in the face right now. That sucks. But I can also think back to when I was 13, my best friend died. And look at your lows, not your heights sometimes too.
Yeah.
Because you'll get lows, say, if I made it through that, why can't I make it through this? And slowly, my biggest prayer is just that if any of you is feeling depressed, if any of you is feeling painful, if any of you is not happy, that you will reach out and that you will listen to this, and then maybe we can bring some comfort. Any thoughts, Joy, on that?
Yeah. And I mean, I know like you struggle with like if it's okay to say,
Tell it.
yeah, that you've got bipolar, right? And you're
Just
on,
bipolar with mania, yes, ma'am. And I'm on
yeah. And so
Abilify.
like
It
you've
kind of
got,
balances out my brain.
exactly. And it's not like that is the reason alone that you've had these things happen, but it probably is like a big, you know, a big push with it.
Right.
I have family members that have anxiety, and it's really, really hard when you don't understand what they're going through.
Yeah.
I think what they want most of all out of this whole world is for people to get it. They want
Yeah.
to know that you would understand what they're going through. Like
Right.
they have a mental illness day. I don't know if they
Someone
have.
that they would know that not someone not just knows that they're in pain, but knows how it feels and why,
Yeah,
what it feels like to be to the point that you would rather die than face the
yeah,
current situation or predicament or circumstances, right?
exactly. That's all anybody wants. That's why, like, if you've got, a big coach out there that has been through hell and back in their life and they've got the story and they live to tell about it, it's going to mean a lot more than someone who's never experienced anything like that.
Right.
Like people are going to want to listen to him better, right?
Yeah.
Like for myself, I've never,
First-hand experience.
been in these crazy situations, but I've interviewed a lot of people who have
Right.
had crazy stuff happen.
Right.
And they've come out the other side. So
Praise
they've
God.
turned their life around. And they're going to still run into hiccups. They're still going to
but they're
need
stronger
help.
now than they were before that, and they probably won't think the same way. Because for me, after my friend, thank God, praise God for Angela, she's the most beautiful angel, and secretly my crush. But I was feeling hella suicidal about 2 weeks ago, and I told her I was feeling it, and she talked me off the ledge. I wanted to do it. I was trying to do it. I was putting knives in my throat. I was trying to hang myself on this door. I was really trying to take myself out of this world that whole night, and I couldn't be talked into sense. And then the next day, the sense came back, and it was like, yea, though weeping endureth for an evening, joy cometh in the morning is so true. And sometimes your evening is longer than a night. Sometimes your evening is a whole season or 10 years. They say for people who have lost children, for example, which psychologically is also known as the hardest thing a person can go through in
Oh,
life.
can imagine.
For people who have lost children, which I've lost 5 kids that were in vitro. I never lost one after they were born, but
Oh,
that
wow.
happened
I didn't know
because
that.
all 5 times me and my girlfriend, the wives or whatever, got pregnant. All those kids died. So I don't know what it's like to lose a child that was alive, but I do know what it's like to go through a lot of what do you call it, miscarriages and stuff. So anyway, point being, they say for people who actually have faced that real reality of their child dying, which I know many people who have,
Yeah.
that it takes at least 10 years just to even be able to fully accept that it happened and understand it. Just to
Yeah.
get over that initial part of the grieving process that hits so hard at the beginning takes 10 years for people like that. And that's another reason I want to just be an advocate of people and say, in a humanitarian or Christian, whatever, or Buddhist, whatever mind frame you come from, always remember to practice kindness, because everywhere you go, everybody everywhere is fighting a battle you know nothing about, just like you're fighting a battle we know nothing
Exactly.
about. And we want to know about your battle. We want to fight it with you, because we are here on this planet. I'm in overtime. I've been almost killed so many times last year that I just feel like I'm lucky to be alive. So I will spend all my life helping anybody I can, talk to anybody I can who goes through struggle too, because
Yeah.
it's real, guys. Life's not fucking easy for anybody.
One thing I really admire about you is that when you're doing your music, like we've talked about this before, how I was saying, I've got all this to write and how am I going to get this done? This was before chat box. And then, and you're
Yeah.
just like, well, just do it. Just sit down and do it. And with you, you make music like at such a fast level. You make like a
I
whole
was
album in one night.
So I
It's
got a new
insane.
tax client today. He's a really big, prominent music guy in my town. He plays tons and tons of gigs. I won't name him, but he's now a tax client of mine, thank God. So he took me out to lunch today, and he kind of asked me the same
Cool.
thing on the way in, like, "Hey, how do you make so much music so fast?" Kind of asking without asking, like he wanted to know, but didn't want to pry. You know how studio boys are. We got a lot of fucking pride.
Yeah.
But anyway, I said, well, I've been doing it 21 years, and in that time, I've honed and used and developed certain set of like 5 tools that I completely rely on for everything. I have an AI generator that I pay for that helps me write lyrics. That thing needs to be on point all the time. I have a mastering engine and a couple DAWs to record music that I pay for the top version of, or paid for the top version of, and then I buy samples on a rolling subscription basis. So I just told him I have all these tools that bail me out. So I have extra music, extra samples, extra instruments. There's a lot of instruments here in the house, and they're my brothers, my friend, and that allows me to be prolific because I use my tools. So yeah, I love making music. It's the only thing that keeps me from wanting to jump off a fucking bridge, either listening to music or making music. I mean, what are you
Yeah.
gonna rely on? Alcohol, drugs, sex, all these things are meaningless and of this world and last only a moment. And they're just flesh gratifying desires. You gotta find something that you would take out of this world with you, that you would take to the next life if you could, and money ain't even really that, because in the next life, I don't think we're going to need money, but we're going to store up treasures on earth while we're here, so that when we do get to the next life, we have plenty of pearls in heaven to throw at the king's feet. Jesus' name.
Yeah, I didn't know you knew that much about when you were talking about the Bible. I
Oh,
didn't know.
I've read the Bible so many, more than several times all the way through, and I've read the Quran 3 times, the Zen, the Tao, the Buddhist books. I've read the Rastafarianism and a lot of the world religions. Did the Quran a few times. By the Quran is supposed to be played out sung, so it's like Allahu Akbar, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And the whole Quran is sung through like that because it's a song, it's a prayer. But I always go back to Jesus because in my experience, he's the only mother that shows up. He's the only God that really is on his game. I think there could be maybe other gods, but I think Yahweh is the big God of this universe, at least.
I was raised
Probably our
like that.
creation.
Like we were church gypsies. Me like that's why I'd love to do a podcast with someone on religion. And I'd bring my
That's that
mom on
next.
there with me. I'll
That
bring
one
my
next.
mom
Yeah,
because
she's invited.
she's like insane. Like she'll
Try not
make
to
me look
cuss.
dumb. But and when it comes to anything religion, and I'm talking not just we're not religious at all, but we were raised I was raised like from church to church gypsy. And they were all Christian ones.
But
So
you
they
were
were
always
like,
was your mother always getting offended by something the pastor said, and that's why you always had to
yes.
switch? That's how
Oh,
my mom was too, and she ended up just coming out
oh.
to be an atheist later in life, and saying, throwing her hands over the whole thing. But we
Yeah,
went
no,
back
she's
over
not
the
an
years.
atheist, but her beliefs now are way different than when I was young. and they're, yeah. I mean, it's
Scripture
yeah.
comes to mind for all those who are out there who are believers. And if you have someone on your heart who is not a believer, especially if they're in your immediate family, do know there is a verse in the Old Testament that says, if you are a believer, your children and your husbands and your wives and all your offspring are saved too. So while we want them to come to the Lord, of course, more than anything, they'll get there because of you. So don't worry about that. They got a trump
Well,
card.
I do have a brother that's actually an atheist, and it at least he says that. I don't know that any of us believe it, but it's
Maybe he's just angry or has some
I
resentment.
don't know. It I don't understand it, because like with atheism versus, I mean, now this switch to religion, this conversation.
God help me there for now. Jesus Christ.
I just don't understand how, yeah, like someone who believes who's an atheist actually believes there is no God. Like they actually feel like they know for certain that there isn't one. But if you're agnostic, you at least, you're kind of saying, I don't know if there is one, and I don't know what I believe. But
True. That's saying I'm not exactly sure,
like,
and it's bigger than a question that I feel like I'm qualified to
how do
answer.
you know? How do you know there's no God?
Yeah.
But I guess the same can be said for, how do you know there is one? Like if
And in my experience, it's different than a lot of people, but in my personal experience, I've experienced God firsthand. I mean, I've seen things in the sky that are insane. I've seen doors open that didn't exist. When I was homeless on the street dying one night, it was December. Let me paint you a picture. It was December 25th, Christmas 2019. Louie Summerfield is off his meds and has gone completely fucking buck wild in the streets of Denver, Colorado. He has a $19,000 brand new Toyota car he just signed for, and he's been living in it for months, driving across the country for the mafia for $2,000 to survive. He gets back to Denver. He's out of money. He's homeless. He's homeless for a long time. He eventually said, fuck the car. Felt like agents were chasing me and weird lights were getting shined on me. That's a ramble. I won't go to that. I parked the car. I just left it in the middle of Denver and just started walking. And I walked for days. I had no jacket, no nice shoes. I had no penny loafers, and it was Christmas. And it was freezing in Denver. It was like maybe 20 or something. But
how long ago is this?
This was 2019 or 2011. I think. No, it was
Oh,
2019 this time.
I didn't know
2019
you
this time.
then.
This is 2019. So I wake up and I don't wake up. I had to break into some places with this black dude to get warm for a little while. And then in the morning, I had this moment. Everything started melting. I was freezing. I was outside, and I would go into a coffee shop at 8 a.m. and I started plugging my phone, all my stuff in. And I said, you know what? Like the prodigal son, I wonder if my family really does love me. Because at this time in my head with mental health issues, I was thinking the whole world hated me. I was a fugitive. Everybody wants to kill me. My family doesn't love me. Nobody wants me back. But I woke up at 8 in the morning. I called my dad. I said, Dad, just so you know, I'm living homeless for a long time now in the streets and all in the city. And like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't you know? Who are you? And he sends my sister to pick me up from Denver. And then I went and took a nap and I woke up in the mental hospital. But that just speaks to some of my background as a mentally ill person. Before, in 2011, I used to be a really bad young man and selling a lot of drugs and guns, all kind of shit. And somebody screwed with my money, and he was a childhood friend of mine. He was an older man than me, like a big bro, you know. And I went threatened him with a gun. He called the cops about my money. So when after I go to jail, they said, we'll give you a PR warrant you out on one condition: you do not contact Jeff Coates. I said, fine. Within an hour, I found him, stabbed him in the throat, missed his jugular by a quarter inch, which would have killed him immediately, and was back in jail already. And now my bond is $500,000, and my parents are fucking robbed their heart, and it looks like I'm doing 16 years. Nobody to snitch on. There's no deal to make. There's no snitching or anything like that. Because first of all, I don't do that code streets. But second of all, even if I wanted to, I just walked up and stabbed a guy in broad daylight outside a bar, and nobody snitched on him. He's all on camera. Like, almost killed the guy. So I found Jesus right then and there in jail. I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a broken demon image. I said, "This is disgusting, Lewis. Who have you become?" And we might upgrade this real quick. I said, "Who have you become?" And that's when I found Jesus, because I knew I'd been a believer since I was young, but I had gotten way away from my faith roots and was in drug dealing and all kind of dumb gangster shit that I thought was cool at the time. Selling coke and guns and blah blah blah. But anyway, I got out of jail. I did a little bit of probation, and they gave me 4 years of that. And then I got out in 2 years by writing letters and having good behavior. And I got out of jail and did my probation, blah, 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 rehabilitated, right? And then you know, and now I'm back in society. And I just, one thing I want to tell people, you know, if you have felonies, it's hard. A lot of suicidal is circumstantial. A lot of suicidal thoughts are circumstantial, meaning people want to commit suicide because their life sucks or they're broke or whatever. Well, for me, it was like I was a felon. I couldn't get a job anywhere for the longest time. But I promise you, after that 7 years expires and those don't show up on the background checks anymore, you never have to worry about that crap again. And I've been able to work all over the world doing public accounting and private accounting and industry accounting and all kinds of stuff. And so I just, like I said, want to encourage guys and girls, if you've got a felony, it's not the end of the world. There are actually
Yeah.
resources available specifically for that that can help you get in touch. I know how hard it is to get an apartment and get a job and get an interview and anything like that when you're fresh out
Yeah.
in college.
It's people love a comeback story too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Like,
Got to.
right?
What did Big Sean said, last night took a L, but tonight I bounced back. So every time we go through adversity, we get a little bit stronger. Next thing you know, we have another test to face that's a little bit harder, but we're a little bit harder and we're a little more battle hardened and ready to go on. So, you know, that's kind of what going through these adversities and these suicidal crises and different crises of all kind and trials and tribulations we face, they do not only just refine us and make us better, but they also make us stronger so we're able to face the next test. And I promise you, there will be more tests. I'm not going to say your life will always be easy, because even when you get over a big test, there's another one you're always going to face. Today, for me, it was, yeah, cool, I'm going to be in a movie, great. But guess what? My old business partner from last year that we were having a tax practice together in New York City is trying to screw me out of $80,000 using the government. And I just found out today when I got my tax form, I thought I was going to file my taxes, but instead I got this mess. Point being, there's always another battle to face, but we get stronger. We fight the battles harder and we get better each time. That's why we don't want anybody taking themselves out. We need all our men, we need all our women, we need all our grown folk that are out here to help the children, help each other, and help ourselves. And if anybody needs help, you can always reach out to me, 719-725-39.
Also, too, it really makes you put things into perspective to think, like, as people that are not going through these trials, you know, why are we worrying about the stupid shit that doesn't matter? Like,
Right.
the things that aren't important.
Stupid shit.
It's small. It's small stuff that and we'll let it
making a
ruin
mountain out of a molehill, yeah.
right? It's just so, you know, you could fill a book with all the things, you know, that people say are injustices, but they're not.
I don't know about you, but I'm in this thing doing something called a double header. We're about to run out on this Zoom. I'm happy to buy the Zoom if I can get freaking logged in.
Oh,
what I wanted to ask you is what your time looks like tonight, and if you have time to do one more quick one off the back of this one. Now that we're about to close,
of course.
Yeah. I want to see if you want to do the religion one next, so we can
you can stop this one and then do another one.
All right, guys. Well, I just want to reiterate, this has been Joy, Kriston, Louie, Summerfield, and we want to reiterate there are resources, there are pals, there are friends, there is help available to you if you're feeling this kind of way. And that's why we made this. We want to show you, you know, we go through it, I go through it. Joy, not so much, but that's because she's pretty imperfect and probably.
No, it's because
I'm sure she
I'm
goes through it too.
interested in people's lives.
Doesn't have the
like,
mental health challenges that some of us have, but
yeah.
That doesn't make her any of less of a soldier, or that her path is any less difficult than anybody else's. And if you are going through that suicidal stuff, please call me. You don't need to call Kriston. Call me 719-725-290. Love.
Thank you so much for telling us your story. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Oh, did it stop?
No, I think we're still going.
Oh, okay.
We got your closing thoughts before we close.
Okay, yeah. I think people might have to like pause some of that just to catch some of the stuff you're saying, because you talk so fast. I do speak fast, right? Don't I? Yeah, I know. Yeah. But no, I think that is really good. I would just want to reiterate that, you know, people feel alone, and everybody does, and everyone goes through things. And
that's what lonely is, right? It's not being alone, is feeling like no one cares, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that could actually be very well true, where they feel like, you know, and they're getting that from people. They're getting that, you know, vibe, cold vibe from everybody that they come across, right? Right. Yeah. It's
when you're a stranger, when you look ugly, when you're alone, when you're down in the dark, you're in the dumps. I picked up a friend on Monday. His friend picked me up, and I got to drive his car as a signal. But he's my friend Scotty. He's been having a horrible time, falling out with his girlfriend. Money's been bad, and he was down in the dumps for 2 months. Hasn't called me, and they were hanging out. He told me all this. I said, "Why didn't you call me, bro?" I said,
Yeah.
I was broken a lot in the summer. I said, "But I've been doing good lately. I could have helped you with this. I could help you see stuff better." I said, "You're coming to New York with me. I'm going to shoot that movie. You're going to come with me. Label's paying for my plane and my hotel, so I'm just going to pay his round trip." So he can come with me. His whole outlook changed. He was fucking lit up, so excited. Like, we're going to New York. He's an older
You,
guy. He's my,
you
my
know
best
the
friend.
name
He's
of the
58.
movie yet? You can't say it
I
on
don't
here
know the
though.
name of the movie, but I'll tease it
Oh,
here. It's about a kid who gets a lot of cryptocurrency in New York City, a hood kid, and it turns out to be a Russian mafia's cryptocurrency. So now it turns into a
that's so
drama
cool.
action comedy film. Me, I'm gonna be playing myself, Louie Summerfield, a rapping cab driver in the movie, and
That's so
it's gonna be a
cool.
hoot. We should hire Joy on. If you want, I could probably get
I'll
your
be the
role in the movie.
copywriter. Yeah.
No, you should be in the movie. You should be on the film. You could be like
Oh
you can be
God,
the character.
no.
They'll come up with a character for you.
Yeah, right.
Fly in from
Um,
Canada. In New York. All right. Well, anyway, we got to close out. We love you guys. Please call. I'm going to put my number on screen and be well. God bless.
okay. Bye, Louie.
Bye. Love.